Welcome back all to another video. So, as you can see from the orange wall behind me, we're still covering the London Overground, specifically the North London line this time, and this is a biggie, so stay tuned. Right, we'll get straight into this one as this is the last section of the inner orbital overground loop as we know today. So, where does it start? The North London line passes through the inner suburbs of West, North West and North London, between Richmond in the southwest and Stratford in the east, avoiding central London entirely. It remains heavily used by freight services in addition to the main London Overground services that run today. However, this wasn't always the case, and the North London line is a mixture of closures, reopenings and a mishmash of lines. It in fact originally ran between Richmond and North Woolwich, which opened over 25 years from 1846. As we are jumping around the whole of London, I've divided it into 3 distinct sections, so bear that in mind. The easternmost section ran between Stratford and North Woolwich and was opened by the Eastern Counties and Thames Junction Railway in 2 stages. The first stage opened in 1846, linking Stratford and Canning Town, and was opened largely to transport coal to the Bow Creek at the time. The second stage opened a year later in 1847 between Canning Town and North Woolwich via Silvertown, and this added a connection to the Woolwich ferry to allow passengers from the south to connect straight to the railway in the north. Moving to the central section, which was between the Euston area at Primrose Hills and Poplar with a route travelling via Bow. This was constructed by the East and West India Docks and Birmingham Junction Railway. That is a mouthful, and was later renamed the North London Railway, with the first trains running between a station called Bow around the Bow Junction area, roughly where Bow Church is today on the DLR, and Islington, which is the current day Highbury and Islington station, in 1850. There were further extensions to Camden Town in the winter of that year, and Hampstead Road, later renamed Primrose Hill, was opened in 1851. By 1852, an extension was carried down to Poplar, but we won't go into too much detail since this isn't really part of the North London line, and most of the line is disused today. In the west, the North and South Western Junction Railway opened in 1853, connecting Woolston Junction to the London and South Western Railway line around the Hounslow Loop line and Kew Bridge area. Passenger traffic started on the 1st of August in 1853, with roughly 3 trains running daily from Hampstead Road to Kew. The North and South Western Junction Railway had its own station at the end of the line. However, this was a temporary platform at first, and there was also an intermediate station at Acton. This route extended from Hampstead Road to Windsor in 1854, but only lasted 3 months due to competition. And soon after, a branch was also built out to Hammersmith. Meanwhile, at the eastern end, a spur line connecting the North London Railway to Stratford from Victoria Park was opened in 1854, but wasn't really used by passenger services. Around this time, the docks were picking up, and the Royal Victoria Dock opened in 1855, so this one here, and a swing bridge had to be built for the railway. Due to increased travel times, this line was rerouted north of the dock towards 2 new stations at Tidal Basin and Customs House. The southern line remained in place for local factories and was renamed the Silvertown Tramway. Now, jumping back to the central section, you might notice that Primrose Hill connects to the West Coast Main Line, and trains were now conflicting with busy Euston trains. A bypass line was opened from Camden to Wilson Junction via Gospel Oak and West Hampstead, opened in 1860. In 1865, a connection to Broad Street Station was opened, and this is essentially next to the existing Liverpool Mainline station today. This allowed outer circle trains to run from Broad Street all round North and West London to Victoria. There's another dedicated video on the London Ring Rails if you want to check that out. And by 1869, the final part of the route was opened, which was a link from South Acton to Richmond by the London and South Western Railway Company in 1869. The District Line, as we know today, also joined this section in 1877. So you should be able to see the bones of the North London Line forming here. However, it was still a mishmash of companies. So what happened next? Well, the line between Camden Town and Dalston Junction was quadrupled in 1871, and a couple years later the Albert Dock in the east was being constructed, so the railway had to build a tunnel underneath the docks. A year later in 1872, a gas and coke factory was built, and a railway spur to the disused Beckton station was added. In 1880, when the Royal Albert Dock opened, a branch line to galleons also was opened by the London and St Catherine's Dock Company, with stops at Central and Manor Way, as well as Connaught Road. At the same time, the line connected to Palace Gate in North London, and this is where regular services began running between North Woolwich and Palace Gate. The line was also quadrupled between Stratford Market and Tidal Basin in stages by 1892, which is important later on. And this section between Stratford and North Woolwich joined the North London Line in 1979, forming roughly what we know as the route today. Now, I won't go into too much detail about which routes went where, because there are so many, but the key ones are the one from Broad Street to Richmond, Broad Street to Watford, and North Woolwich to Palace Gate, as well as the Camden Road branch. So who operated the final route then? Well, it's a bit complicated to understand, but I believe it happened in 1997 when the franchising scheme was brought in, and National Express won the contract for the operation of the North London Line, calling it Silverlink. And from March 1997 until November 2007, the line was operated by Silverlink between North Woolwich and Richmond, although the sections between North Woolwich and Stratford were closed in 2006. In 2007, TfL took over the full management of the line and rebranded it to the London Overground, and it looks like it's staying that way due to its excellent performance and upgrades compared to the previous operator. You might also be wondering what happened to all the random bits and bobs of the lines that have been closed. Well, they've actually been utilised for other projects, namely the DLR took over the route around Poplar, as well as the bit between Stratford and Canning Town for the Olympic. It also runs roughly where the old lines on the Silvertown tramway used to go, and the spurs to the industrial plants at Beckton and Galleons. The Jubilee line also takes over the other set of tracks between Canning Town and Stratford. The section between Bow and Victoria Park were replaced by the A12, and the second set of tracks between Dalston and Camden Town were used by the East London Line Overground route, which you can check on another video on my channel. Also, the connection between the North London Line and the West Coast Main Line still exists today, with trains using it to go to Wilson Junction depots. I had to use this route once, particularly on the sleeper service when, King's Cross was closed. And the rest of the route remains operational.
We also can't forget Crossrail, which is actually using some of the existing tracks.
And that is the history of the North London Line. Thank you all so much for watching. This took tons of research, so please give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and most of all, keep safe, and I'll see you next time.